The tension surrounding this matchup has turned into something far bigger than a promotional headline. It has evolved into a storm of opinions, doubts, warnings, and bold predictions from every corner of the boxing world. Behind all the noise lies one simple truth. Anthony Joshua stepping toward Jake Paul is not just another influencer crossover fantasy. It is a collision of two entirely different universes, one built on decades of boxing legacy and the other built on spectacle, disruption, and fearless ambition. And as the conversations heat up, the stakes rise higher for both men in ways neither can afford to ignore. From the moment Joshua addressed the situation, his tone made it clear that this is not a fight built on ego or emotion. He explained that punch power alone doesn't define greatness. Being a true fighter means something deeper, something rooted in spirit, discipline, and mindset. Joshua emphasized that breaking an opponent requires more than physical strength. It demands mental dominance, psychological control, and a willingness to impose oneself until the other man crumbles. To him, the idea that Jake Paul could walk into a ring with a former unified heavyweight champion and expect to dictate the pace seemed absurd. His stance wasn't fueled by arrogance, but by a realistic understanding of what elite boxing requires. Others echoed the same warning. Experts argued that Jake simply wasn't equipped for what awaited him. Even when Joshua tries to go light, he hits with a force that would shatter most cruiserweights. The idea that Paul could endure 10 rounds with a 250-pound powerhouse was met with disbelief. Joshua, by his own admission, is treating this fight as a business opportunity, one that offers a massive purse with minimal risk. But inside the ropes, he insists the intention is unchanged. He will fight with the same seriousness he brings to every battle, and Jake Paul will feel every ounce of that reality. Yet Jake responded the only way Jake Paul knows how, with bravado, certainty, and the promise of delivering the knockout he believes was denied years ago. He talked about the $50 million offer, about unfinished business, about the legacy he intends to carve out with his fists. But beneath the bravado, analysts questioned whether he understood the magnitude of what he was stepping into. Chris Algieri broke it down with clarity, explaining that this fight gives Joshua something far more valuable than a payday. It gives him a tune-up fight on a global stage, an opportunity to recenter himself after months of inactivity. It's a chance to sharpen his timing, rebuild his confidence, and return to the rhythm every heavyweight needs. From a strategic point of view, the fight is a win across the board for Joshua and an enormous risk for Jake. As debates grew louder, the rules became a point of confusion. Exhibition or real fight? Heavier gloves or standard 10-ounce? Some tried to argue weight class discrepancies, but others quickly clarified that both men now operate within the heavyweight range. There is no safety net, no exaggerated limitations, no excuses to hide behind. This is professional boxing, and if Jake Paul wants real fighters, then he must accept real consequences. Eddie Hearn added another layer of complexity, expressing both interest and caution. Jake Paul's track record of sudden opponent changes and cancelled fights makes negotiation difficult. Joshua's camp needs assurance, stability, and commitment. But if Paul is genuinely serious, and if the business aligns, the fight could materialize into one of the biggest spectacles in recent memory. Hearn made it clear that financially, it could be one of Joshua's highest-grossing nights. But mentally, the team must navigate carefully, ensuring Joshua remains focused without being sidetracked by the flair of influencer theatrics. Meanwhile, analysts like Paulie Malignaggi and Ryan Garcia insisted that Joshua will not enter the ring half-heartedly. Exhibition or not, Joshua fights with discipline, sharp timing, and a fighter's instinct that never fades. They pointed out that his shots, controlled or unleashed, carry devastating potential. Jake Paul may have heart, courage, and ambition, but he has never tasted the kind of calculated violence Joshua can deliver with a single opening. They warned that this fight demands absolute respect from Paul, because one mistake could wipe out everything he's built. Even commentators from the media weighed in, calling the matchup shocking, massive, and far more dangerous than anything Jake Paul has ever attempted. They noted that while fighting smaller retired champions or MMA veterans gives Paul leverage, stepping into a ring with Anthony Joshua removes all margins for error. Joshua isn't just another name. He is an Olympic gold medalist, a unified heavyweight champion, and a man with knockout power proven against fighters with iron chins. His destruction of Francis Ngannou, a man nearly impossible to hurt in MMA, became the reference point everyone returned to. If Joshua can shut down Ngannou with a single sequence, what hope does Paul have? The conversation continued to escalate as more voices chimed in. Analysts highlighted Joshua's athletic prime, strength, and elite fundamentals. They emphasized the danger of labeling this fight a mere show. For Paul, this is the moment the experiment becomes reality. No more hypotheticals about what happens if he fights a real boxer. No more comparisons to aging legends or past their prime names. If he goes in and gets knocked out, the entire mystique collapses instantly. But if he survives, or somehow shocks the world, the trajectory of his career changes forever. Some argued that the fight could overshadow even massive traditional matchups in terms of numbers, hype, and mainstream attention. Others worried that Joshua's long layoff is already too extended, and this fight delays his path back to heavyweight contention. They want to see Joshua active, facing real contenders, and pushing toward undisputed opportunities. But when someone knocks with $100 million in hand, the answer becomes obvious, even if the detour frustrates boxing purists. With every passing day, the anticipation grows. Joshua's legacy stands tall, but this strange, unexpected chapter could reshape public perception. Jake Paul's future hinges on whether he can withstand the kind of power that has humbled giants. Fans crave clarity, drama, and spectacle, and this fight promises all three wrapped into a single explosive moment. It is a crossroads for both men, one seeking renewed dominance and the other seeking validation on the grandest stage possible. As this potential matchup looms, all that remains is one question. Will this be a historic shock or a brutal reminder of the gap between influencer ambition and elite boxing reality? Before you go, share your thoughts. Is Jake Paul taking the biggest risk of his career, or could he surprise the world once again? Do you think Joshua gains anything from this fight beyond money and momentum? Let me know your take in the comments. And if you enjoyed this dramatic deep dive, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next breakdown.